Welcome to Uncomfortable Growth Uncut, where we celebrate those who defy fear, embrace growth, and live without regret. In this episode, we peel back the layers to reveal the person behind the profile with Peter Horgan. Affectionately known as Horgs, Peter has navigated the media landscape with a blend of nurturing leadership and a relentless pursuit of performance. He shares his insights on the delicate balance between supporting people and holding them accountable, a tension that, if mismanaged, can lead to a culture of entitlement and complacency. So welcome to Uncomfortable Growth. I have the fabulous Peter Horgan with me today. He has many accolades, including being the CEO of Omnicom Media Group, the biggest media agency in Australia and New Zealand, as well as the chair of the MFA, the Media Federation of Australia, and also the only media representative on the AANA, also an industry body. So a very impressive person, but I've known Horgs, as he's known by all, for many years, and most importantly, he's a wonderful human being. So welcome today, Peter. Horgs.
Thanks, no, thank you for having me on.
Does anyone call you Peter, or does everyone only call you Horgs?
When I'm in trouble, yeah, but I think my parents, when I'm in trouble, I'll get Peter. Yeah, family gatherings, I get Peter.
Yeah, all parents bring out that that stern voice and Peter.
That's it.
So you are in the midst of an incredible career and so many different experiences. So I'm sure you have multiple uncomfortable growth stories, but I'm going to hand over to you to share the one that I guess is top of mind for you at the moment.
Thanks. Well, it sort of goes back a while. You're right, actually. Sort of agency leads, you do juggle a lot of dynamics. You see a lot of industry verticals. You're balancing between trying to create and nurture and attract great people to sort of work within your company environment, but you're also the servant to many clients, many CMOs, and that comes with its own challenges. And then as well, and then there's the media vendors within that equation as well. So you are at the center of.
You get pulled in all directions, basically.
a lot of orbiting dynamics. So it is. And you sort of, your reason for being is to serve clients, but possibly your primary responsibility is to look after your people as well. So that is there's an inherent tension within that dynamic as well. So, and I think to come to my sort of uncomfortable growth story, it was really it's sort of 10, 15 years ago or now. And I have mentioned this one before, but it's always an interesting one to revisit. It's sort of because not a lot of us are trained for management or indeed leadership. My story attests, if you hang around long enough, they'll push you to the front of the front of the queue, and you're on.
I'm sure that's not quite the case, but anyway, I'll let you go with that.
And I think it's sort of on OMD as it sort of was back then, on its growth trajectory. It's sort of some people were assembled in the mid noughties. We started to build a bit of momentum in the business, and then we sort of formed a managing partner structure with Mark Code and Lee Terry. Cody went back to Melbourne. And then it was myself and Lee Terry running OMD, and but I think in a sort of a joint leadership structure, there's a lot of security that comes with that. You pressure test stuff between you, and you work out in a lot of instances. Your first instinct or your instinctive response to challenges as they come through could have been catastrophic, and and again it sort of reinforces that need for counsel and just to work through challenges as they emerge. And that sort of that went on for a couple of years, and OMD was sort of continuing with great momentum. But then the market really started to get its act together. Some of the competitors really started to come on song, and it arrived at the same time where we had potentially started to believe our own narrative and that sort of growth and kind of market performance was an implied right, and also I was Lee went into running the group. OMG as an entity was formed, and I was put in the CEO role for OMD. And it happened. It happened at the same time as clients. We've probably been guilty of not only believing our own narrative, but also starting to make soft decisions on people. And I've got a fundamental belief that you support your people, you give them the weapons to win, you create a nurturing environment, but the counter tension in that contract is accountability to keep those dynamics. Otherwise, practices, expectations, entitlement creeps in very quickly, and it's a massive job to bring that back. And
and I guess that tension, like you were saying before, that tension also comes from, your clients. You've got to deliver all this growth for your clients because that's why they've hired you. You do that through your people. So you want to nurture and develop them. But at the same time, that has to translate into job performance and business performance, or otherwise clients start to leave and then you can't keep the same people. Like, it is a balancing act.
It is a balancing act. And I think, and clients see it quite quickly, but don't often communicate it quite quickly. It really is incumbent upon the agency leadership to almost be the canary in identifying where that's creeping into the business. And so making soft decisions on people, and again we were sort of we'd almost become hostage to culture. We felt we were early movers on the whole philosophy of culture eats strategy for breakfast, and service profit chain, and had misunderstood that, I think, in terms of, if we double down on culture, and our biggest error was and make our people love us and love the place they work, then that's an unassailable position, and we had that completely wrong. It's I think if you could just keep chasing love without creating a brand environment where people are proud to work and actually feel good about what they're delivering, they don't love you. Your brand starts to contaminate their brand, and antipathy turns to pity, turns to resentment quite quickly.
Such an interesting point you make, Horgs, because culture is so important, and it is something that we know is important, but it doesn't just mean happiness. It doesn't just mean giving everybody what they want. It is a two-way relationship, and I think that's such an important point, because if you just don't have that hard accountability, then people aren't growing also. People aren't necessarily getting better because they're not being pushed and the business isn't being pushed. but
And
it's up to leadership to decide where that point is, right? Where's that sweet spot between nurturing and enabling and empowering versus, accountability for delivery, because that's the business that we're in.
And the host brand becomes something of a liability to them. So and that's people want to work for high performing organizations that reflect on their own brand. And again, that is part of the construct and contract that perpetuates those high performing cultures. So it unpacked quickly. So you've got a rebounding market with some strong players with new propositions in the market. You have us having made soft decisions on people, and you have clients starting to go. You were the hot show in town, and I don't. That's not what we're seeing anymore. So and so there's this awful sort of confluence of it starting to unravel quite early on my watch. So and the loneliness, sort of being in it together, and sort of shared accountability, which a lot of people argue is no accountability, but has disappeared, and that terrifying but galvanizing sort of reality of its there's a possibility of it all sliding off a cliff on my watch, and your responsibility to not only the brand, what you're leaving behind, the business, but also the people that the people that have come on the journey with you, and the sense that you may be about to let them down. Because if big blue chip clients start to leave again, that's an enormous signal to other clients that this is the place you still want to be.
It sounds very stressful as well. I mean, I think as you get promoted up, everyone kind of enters into that next level up going, I really want to do a good job, but do I know what's really required? Because what got you promoted are probably slightly different skills to what's required now in that next level up. And I know I've experienced that many times in my own career. But to have, it sounds like the bell curve was getting to the point where the business was naturally going into a down because competitors had different propositions. You were the new head of because Lee went to a different role, and suddenly it's all sliding and landing on your shoulders. So that must have been incredibly tough.
So that that was lonely. But you sort of the loneliness is kind of that's a mirage as well. You sort of it's as I said, it was galvanizing, and it the old line, I guess, never waste a crisis, but this was definitely a crisis.
It never went to waste.
An existential crisis. So and it allowed us to be without looking schizophrenic to the business, because we've been talking about nothing for the previous sort of couple of years but love us, and it's fabulous here, and the nurturing side of the pendulum is completely where all the emphasis was put, and all of a sudden it's like, right, okay, we've got to make some tough calls. We've got to make some changes. We've got to accelerate our. We've got to convince these blue chip clients that we are right for them. That this is the team. And I think I was lucky. I was lucky that we were dealing with clients, or a specific client who recognised that we were making changes fast and making difficult and painful decisions fast, and decided to give us. So I think off those green shoots of, okay, these people are serious. They're not just going to procrastinate on the performance that I'm demanding. I'll give them a go, and not all clients are like that. So you need a bit of luck as well, and
Yeah.
you need to be in a position to ride that luck. But it
Yeah.
is
Must have led to some, I guess, hard conversations with the client.
yeah. Look, I think you'd. My line with clients is brutal honesty early. It's reading the tea leaves. The trauma of going into a pitch or losing a piece of business. Compared to that, a tough conversation of you're not delivering for me here is the most merciful thing a client can do than take you down the beauty pageant of a pitch process, which is still an awful way to pick a strategic partner. But it's why a lot of the pitch, even the pitch consultancies now, part of their business, they talk about relationship triage and how you can bring those service models back without flushing all the IP and human carnage that goes with pitches or changing agencies willy-nilly. So it was tough conversations, but it was a mercy.
I like the brutally honest early. Because I always have a kind of a philosophy myself, which is I can fix or change anything so long as I know. And it's that not knowing or knowing too late, whether you're on the agency side or the publisher side or the client side. That's when people have already decided to move on or to leave or whatever it is, and it's like I can't do anything about it if it's too late. Whereas if, I know upfront, I know early, I know also how big an issue it is, so on a scale of 1 to 10, I love my scales of 1 to 10, because at least then you can figure out, are we talking about a 5 out of 10 or are we talking about a 9 out of 10 of, of challenge that you can just then do something about it?
I think, being good at listening is, I think a key ingredient for this job. What are you being told? Having your antenna up, but I think also teasing out from clients. Give me the good oil, give me the real stuff now, and I will fix it. It's being seen to make action, make changes, make action, make adjustments quickly. Off the back of that feedback is, because it's difficult for clients as well. But we're all, as a species, we're hardwired for confrontation avoidance, and clients need to be rewarded for that pain that you've put them into or teased out of them. Okay, well, something's happening.
Yeah. And also I think too, when people suddenly become really honest and don't sugarcoat it or use platitudes, etc., then it's appreciated on both sides. And, my background's from client side. I know my team were never perfect when I was in agency relationships as well. It's rarely only one side, right? It's usually a combination, because there's no organization that's perfect. And it's, I think, to the point you made earlier, it's the willingness to recognize that and do something about it that helps to fix it and, enable the team to turn things around and then move on to great work that everyone's proud of. But it takes honesty on both sides and openness to, okay, well, let's figure this out together.
That's exactly true, and there's a lot of good diagnostics around. The 360 reviews. A lot of the more reputable consultancies bring to the table, and a lot of sage leaders there who will if you invite them into those conversations, will provide enormous value and utility in bringing accountability to both sides, because, as you say, it's not a one-way street.
Yeah, well, and everyone's looking for growth, right? So you guys are, the clients are, everyone is. So, if that's the end game, how do we get there together? Because it takes the two halves to deliver. And knowing when it's starting to go awry is a great place to be able to act and change the trajectory.
No, that's yes, no, absolutely agree. So look, that was my moment of well, it's one of my moments of extreme discomfort. It's not been the only one, but it's probably, but I sort of share that one on the basis. It's probably been the most defining for how I've looked to run this business in my time in the chair, and that is that balance between nurturing and accountability, and just being very attuned to when that's getting out of kilter, and I think, look, I think if you look to the staffing or the talent crisis of 2000, 2001 to 2002, I think it was tough to keep that, tough as an industry to keep that accountability in that equation, as you're literally struggling to attract enough people to deliver for your clients. You know, the borders are shut. You're not able to bring in fresh talent. People, there's still high turnover within the industry. You know, it's a high pressure environment. It's not for everybody forever. And just trying to hang on to people. Again, that pendulum shifts quite quickly as power moves away from that central or position of equilibrium. So
yeah, absolutely.
And then it's, you know, watching that change fast over the last 18 months as, you know, Google and Meta started to make those first layoffs in late 2022. It's kind of, how do you recalibrate that whilst protecting culture and you know, bring accountability back into the equation, but not doing it in a way that is going to alienate your people.
Yeah. So during that, I mean, during this whole unfolding of this experience, was there a point where you kind of went, wow, I need to do something different? Like, because obviously when things are not, you know, going to plan, or they start to dip, you start to go, okay, well, I can fix this little bit or this little bit or this little bit. It's a different, I guess, point in time when you go, actually, we can't just tweak it. We need to redefine it. So I'm just interested in your, like, how did you get to that point? Or was there multiple things that said now is the time? Or was there a thing that made that clear in your mind?
I think the epiphany for me was that you're not alone, that it was bringing a core leadership team in tight, and working the problem together. You know, I've always been a junkie for teams. You know, a massive believer in the power of teams. And again, this was hugely reinforcing for me around that. But I think, you know, your natural response early in the crisis is to try and internalize and everything's okay. As you realize quite quickly that's not going to work. You know, it's some vulnerability and selecting who's going to be the team that you rebuild with, and pulling them in tight. I think on this particular event was the epiphany for me. And then working the problem together, you know, honesty of where we're at, and listening, scenario planning. I think, you know, that's where we got reasonably quickly to let's not waste. This is a crisis. Let's all agree on that. That wasn't a tough one.
A 9 out of 10.
But again, some of those tough decisions collectively made is actually quite empowering for that leadership team, and sends important signals to the business that that things are changing, and almost, you know, teams when high performers are working and looking around and seeing low performers tolerated, that's cultural cyanide as well. So it's the reward loop back from the business. You know, there'll be people who resent it, but you know, by and large, it's like what took you so long?
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So are you feeling in a good place now, or are you still kind of working where you want to get?
Well, no, I think that's kind of been my North Star for the last sort of 15 years since that, of, you know, keep that equilibrium. I kind of let it get away from me a bit through the pandemic and sort of the resulting talent crisis afterwards, because that's a human reality.
Curveball. Yeah, curveball of the world.
It was a curveball. But then, you know, trying to bring it back without glee or any sort of malice, just that, you know, we're recalibrating this, because that's the fundamentals of a sustainable business structure. Is you know, if there's any resentment, it's not going to linger too long as you're doing it, as long as you're recalibrating in an empathetic way.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting how, you know, even the market leader, you know, the biggest businesses, all businesses go through growth cycles, and you know, and so there's these kind of ongoing, you know, up and then a bit of a dip down, and then up and a bit dip down, but to get to the next up, you're always having to recalibrate, to use your language, and figure out, okay, well, what are the things that are no longer working, or what are the things that we haven't quite got right? But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's keep the good stuff, and then, you know, build to the next level. And that's true of all businesses.
I think so. And I do boast that media agencies are probably a more a fitter for that perpetual change than most other business. You know, if you look at a lot of industries, yes, there's been a lot of change, but, you know, media agencies, you know, the digital age, the programmatic age, fragmentation, the push into tech and data, and now AI. It's literally one thermonuclear disruption after another, and you know,
that could be your new job title, Horgs, CEO of thermonuclear disruptions. That's a good one.
So I think it, you know, it comes with the territory. So, and it's interesting. I think one of your questions was around what things have you learned about yourself? And I don't really like change much. You know, I like building structures that endure. So maybe I am in the wrong industry, but I kind of recognize that about myself. So you try and build structures that are going to endure, in full knowledge that they're not going to endure. So it's
but hopefully they'll have more scaffolding. So you maybe you have like less of these extreme downs, and, you know, so you can just kind of go like this.
and that's the business cycle. So, you know, I think the structural changes that we've been through, I think that, you know, that has girded us for some of the more cyclical things that do come through. But I'd say looking at Omnicom and OMG, we haven't been sort of roosted a feather duster and back again. There's of course there's been undulations, every business has, but my whole thing has been, you know, try and grow steadily, grow capability, you know, keep that tension in at the heart of your culture, but grow capability. Don't try and be a rock star and you know, double your P&L in a year. That's just going to become, you know, your next hurdle rate. If you're growing at at a sustainable rate where you keep your shareholders happy, but that leaves you enough to keep investing in the right people and the right capability. That's what's going to keep you at the pointy end of the industry. And again, it's not.
It's the consistency.
It ain't rocket science, but it's worked for us over the last couple of decades.
Yeah, well, and that's impressive when you think about all those thermonuclear disruptions that have been thrown your way. I mean, AI is obviously so top of mind at the moment, and I mean, it's a game changer. How are you guys even scoping and navigating that? You know, and I'm assuming too, your clients will be in various stages of readiness for AI as well. So that's the thing I love about the media industry is you're always working with a diverse spectrum of clients and their readiness for the next level.
I think you put curious people onto the tools. You know, we create and activate off huge data sets, and I think, you know, if you take any large language model and just turn it on, and you can ask it questions that give you whatever answers you want to, whatever direction you want to take it in, or it can take you down damaging pathways. And I think the way we've looked at it is that it's a liberator for our best and brightest. You know, there are already some procurement people say, oh, you know, half the people now. But I think it's a fundamentally different. It's going to be a fundamentally different outcome for the kind of clients you want to work for, which are those that want an advantage against their competitive set, which is curious people who are familiar with the tech and understand how to interrogate and feed the right questions, and not slavishly take the answers, but, you know, add that into the human element, and the human solutions are going to deliver incredible gains for their client set. So
yeah,
in a short answer is embrace it, but be the master of it. That it's not taking over. It's going to be a vital tool and asset when used in the right way.
Yeah. And there are, you know, it's a bit like digital, which is never one thing, right? Like I remember back in the day when digital first came out and I was on the client side, it was like, oh, it's a website. Oh, it's social media. And now we understand that digital is the technology that manifests in so many ways and the precursor now to AI. So, you know, I think it'll be really interesting moving forward because like in the work that I do, I see a massive shift in terms of the value that humans can bring. So if you're going to have the ability for machines, AI, to do a lot of tasks, which, you know, follows rules and patterns, then what is the work that humans are going to do? And it is going to be that higher order work where there's multiple contexts or changing contexts or bigger problems that have multiple elements that you can't just program because you actually don't know the answer. And I think if that's what we keep in mind with AI, that it's going to help us do the lower value work so humans can do the higher value work that it can't do.
It's liberating. I think there was a funny story from last year. OMG and Channel 7 in partnership with AANA, we brought Amy Webb out to South by Southwest, and famous futurist, and she's railing and raging against the fact that I've been talking to AI. AI has been around for, I don't know, 20, 50 years, whatever it is, and nobody's been particularly interested for the last 5 years until a large language model suddenly lands on your lap in GPT, and then all of a sudden everybody's excited that it can do their homework. So it's
exactly. It's real now. It's real to us all. Oh, that's funny. Well, I've just got a couple of quick fire questions to wrap us up, if you've got time for that.
Yep, hit me.
Okay. What are 3 things you've learned about yourself in recent years? So I know you said you don't like change that much.
Yeah, I think that is probably the biggest one for me. I like structures. I like enduring structures, but I know that's there's a sort of a folly to sort of defend. You know, in a fast changing industry, you've got to embrace the change. So I guess that you've got to recognize those areas about yourself that that you need to navigate within yourself. So.
Absolutely. Well, and that's what uncomfortable growth is all about, right?
Yeah, well,
exactly
true.
right.
Yeah, no, probably good case study.
we're all good case studies on that one. Don't you worry.
I think the second one for me, relationships, just how important they are in our industry, with clients, with your own people, with media owners, and how they need to be nurtured. And it's interesting. You go through stages of your career and even generations now, and sort of, you know. And I came in from the UK, so sort of, you know, the media industry almost did become my family, or, you know, school or uni mates were kind of largely left in other countries, or so I built deep relationships early, but generationally that changes and moves through. And you know, at the stage of my career now, where lo and behold, some people are retiring, so I need to, you know, you need to keep that constantly fresh, and never sort of think that your friendship address book is full and you're not recruiting at the moment. It's, you know, it's a perpetual thing, and the relationships you have, you need to be nurtured.
So true. So true.
And what's the third thing I think I've learned about myself is I'm patient. I'm quite patient. I'm quite good at listening, but I'm becoming less so. I think I'm better at listening, actually, because I know what to listen for. But I'm definitely getting a bit less patient. So, and again, I'm not sure whether that's an asset or a liability. But again, maybe because you see patterns coming through again, and there's something instinctive in you that needs to short circuit it. But, you know, some people would argue that can lead to sort of bias thinking in current parlance. But, you know, there's experience as well. So I'll sort of I need to pull myself back and encourage the deeper analysis sometimes when I think, okay, I've seen this before. This is the way to play this. So stay patient.
It's always the gray area, though, right? Because, you know, sometimes you have, and inexperience is a wonderful teacher, more so than anything else, you know, because experience brings nuance, and it's so valuable. And yet, again, like you said, it could be a slight nuance that's different in this context moving forward. So, you know, it may not be exactly the same. So there may be some, you know, some differences that you need to take into account. And I think, you know, like you were saying, it's always being able to listen, be open, but also to be able to share, you know, to extract what is actually still relevant, and then, oh my God.
Hello.
Extract what's relevant, and then also interrogate and create new thinking around what's different.
And again, in that sort of my my deep-seated belief in the power of teams is, is expecting you're going to come out of every conversation with your mind slightly changed on something. But, I think that is a huge danger for leaders of keep up. This is the way we're going, and not listening, or being impatient that you've already seen the solution.
Yeah. Well, and that's the power of teams, as you rightly said. I love your use of the word too, deep-seated belief, because I think we all have those, but we often don't recognize them. And being able to call it out, I think, is such a powerful signpost as a leader to others, and a great way to harness the diversity of different people with different beliefs or different strengths, different experiences.
Thanks. And I think that needs to come with a bit of vulnerability. Luckily, I've got vulnerability in spades. So
that's what makes you a wonderful human.
So much to be vulnerable for. Yes.
Oh, well, thanks so much, Horgs. It's been fabulous. And just wonderful to have you share a real uncomfortable growth story. I know the industry obviously looks up at you as an icon, because you are, even though your sister is more famous, right? As you said before.
I haven't even tried my hand in the beauty industry yet, so who knows?
But yeah, it's a wonderful testament to how you think, how you lead, and also that you're always learning and embracing, what's new and different and what's uncomfortable.
Thank you. No, it's been a very enjoyable chat. I've probably learned some more things about myself as well. So I'll take them away and I'll unpack them.
Okay, well, thanks again.
Okay, right. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.
If you are inspired but thinking, I can't do that, then you are so wrong. Anyone can learn the art of uncomfortable growth with the help of my flagship program, Uncomfortable Growth, Own Your Reinvention. In this, you will learn to navigate your own internal contradictions to finally unlock the courage and commitment to live a deeply meaningful life by design and on your terms. Uncomfortable growth is about the struggle and joy in discovering who you are, what you truly want, and how to make it happen. If this is something you are ready for, then find out more at www.rowenamillward.com. What have you got to lose, or more importantly, gain?